Hello and welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, I'm your host. I'm the editor of Unveiled magazine, the luxury wedding magazine, and the editor and founder of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples. Today on the show, we're welcoming someone who needs no introduction in the bridal world. It's Debbie Carlisle. She's a top bridal accessories designer, and we're here to talk all things sparkly and styling up your big day look. So over to Debbie. Debbie, welcome to Wedflics.
Oh, thanks for having me, Julia.
No problem at all. We're glad to have you here. So Debbie is Debbie Carlisle. She is an amazing bridal accessories designer, both jewellery and headpieces. But Debbie, why don't you introduce yourself and your business to us?
Okay, so the business is Debbie Carlisle, which is my name. I started the business a little over 10 years ago when I was getting married and couldn't find the accessories that I wanted, and kind of couldn't stop making, and have been doing it ever since. So probably the main thing that I do is making hair accessories. The majority of them are hand wired pieces. I also do little bits like earrings and so on, but the main focus is hair accessories.
You didn't start out though in hair accessories, did you? Where did it all start? I remember.
The very first thing that I made was a jewellery bouquet, which I did for my own wedding. So it was made entirely of vintage brooches, rings, earrings, crystals, pearls. Again, because I couldn't find kind of what I wanted for my wedding. And yeah, I kept going, and I've made, I don't know, probably a few hundreds maybe of these bouquets.
But I guess things develop, don't they, as time goes on. So 10 years ago, vintage was really hot for weddings. It was very in, and that's how we met, through your bouquets, really. DC bouquets back in the day.
Yeah.
How did you take it then from doing your own wedding bouquet to building a business?
Well, the first thing I did was just kept making these bouquets, and I didn't really know what to do with them. They were just sat in the house. It was like a proper passion and hobby. And Etsy had just started in the UK. It'd been going in America for a little while, and it had just come to the UK, which was for vintage and handmade items. And my friend told me about it, and so I listed my designs on there. And kind of within a month, I had my first proper commission to make a bespoke bouquet, and then that bride asked for matching hair accessory and buttonholes, and it just kept going. And then, really weirdly, my husband bought me a website domain name and website building kit as a Christmas present. This was all the latter end of
what a great, in retrospect, what a great present.
So
he knew what he was doing.
I had a business by pretty much Boxing Day. I kind of set up this website, and then I joined Twitter, which was again really new.
It was at the time. It was so important, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really thriving wedding community on there, and I got featured on a vintage wedding blog that it doesn't even exist anymore. But I'd followed her, and she'd asked for people who were creating vintage things. I got featured on that, and that kind of drew a lot of clients as well, and it kind of went from there. And it was crazy. With the bouquets, there weren't a lot of copycats kind of sprung up, but at the time that I was doing it, it was a really unusual thing. So it was brilliant, because there were people out there who wanted it, and it was quite easy to find. The internet was a tiny place then as well, I was compared to now. Gradually over time, I started offering more and more headpieces, and about 18 months in, I quit my day job to do the business full time. It kind of got to the point where the business was full time, and I couldn't do both.
So was your day job in something creative, or was this a
kind of? I was a journalist, so
right, okay, didn't know that.
Yeah, for years and years. So I worked as a journalist, and I was the deputy news editor on our local evening newspaper.
Right, enjoy a job. I didn't realise this is a job interview.
So a lot of writing in my past. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, so fast forward those 10 years. And what would you say, because your business has changed a lot, your branding's changed, your I think your attention to detail and quality level has always been consistent, but you know, things have moved forwards for you, and you're now, you know, you're award-winning, top-level quality bridal brand. So what would you say your signature style is now, 10 years later, Debbie Carlisle as we know it now?
Yeah, I do find it difficult to describe it, because it's weird when I feel that maybe I've moved things on with a collection, and then I'll show friends or people in the industry, and they'll often say, oh, that it's still really clearly a Debbie Carlisle piece. I think I've always felt there's been like an ethereal kind of element to it. There's quite a lightness of touch, even with the statement pieces that I make. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. You do have lovely statement pieces within your collection, but they're not bold or brash, even though you're bringing in some quite heavy shapes and big pearls, or, you know, stars or geometrics.
Yeah.
I would agree with those people who say there's always a Debbie Carlisle touch to them, because they're never sort of in your face, are they? They're done with like a feminine, ethereal. You're right, like
yeah, and quite botanical, I guess. In a lot of my pieces are really quite botanical. So if you kind of in any way kind of interested in nature and so on, I suppose a lot of bridal gowns use a lot of lace, so there's that kind of lacy feel to a lot of my designs as well. Yeah, I kind of feel that each time I do a collection every year, and each time I just feel like I sort of move it on a little bit, and I've always got an eye on what's happening in terms of bridal fashion and gowns and styling, and I'm really interested in interior designs as well, and that kind of influences me as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where do you get your inspiration from? So so where do you start with that?
I quite often start with the materials, so I'll get an idea, or I'll have a look around and see what's out there, and I'll be drawn to particular materials, and quite often build a collection based around those materials. So the latest collection, I've been using a lot of Swarovski star crystals and bigger Swarovski round pearls. Until now, I've always used freshwater pearls, which are really tiny, delicate, very natural pieces, whereas the Swarovski pearls are much bigger and more. It's a bit more of a sort of, there's more of a trend really there, that you see them about quite a lot at the minute. But I wanted to do something a bit different using pearls, so I kind of mix them up with the stars. It is just playing, and I sort of have a bit of an idea in my head what I'm going to do, but really until I start wiring them and using my hands, they kind of weird. It's like they just come out of my fingers.
Yeah,
and then I think, that's what I was doing.
It's funny you said as well, like influences from nature, but also interiors and bridal fashion and things like that. That when I'm putting a magazine together, it's a similar process, that I never look at other wedding magazines, because it just stresses me out, it confuses me, it sends me down a wrong path, basically. So we like to be sort of forward thinking. So what we do is I will look at interior magazines, or I look at, you know, fashion magazines, or just stuff that I see, and all this, it's same as with you. It kind of like intrinsically trickles down into your sort of consciousness, doesn't it? And it's the same with, until I start laying out or coming up with shoot ideas, I don't know what it's going to come out like. It's really weird. But that's the same as you, like in your workshop, like, you know, creating the pieces, and playing around. And
you've got to be really careful, I think not to look at, very specifically, not to look at what other hair accessory designers or jewelry designers are doing, because it just sends you off down the wrong path. And for me, having too much of a strong idea in my head, it doesn't work that way. It's a much more organic and a natural process. And I kind of learned that really early on. I think my very first collection, I kind of thought, there are a lot of big blousy florals about sort of 10 years ago, Naomi Neo gowns with big I really need to have some big blousy flowers, and I did a piece, and then I laid everything I'd done out, and looked at it, and every single other thing made sense as a whole, and that was just sitting there just looking odd and pointed.
What a waste of time.
Yeah, and it's like, there was no need to do that. So I've never ever approached it with my brain again. It's never been about what do I think is popular or what is going to sell or anything like that. It's
see, when you told me, because obviously I've worked with you a lot and on shoots, and we've known each other for years now, but I know you do collections every year, and that interests me because from what you do and the sort of classic fashion-led but classic pieces you produce, I was like, well, is a collection every year necessary? Because you know what I mean, like is it necessary? Because if you're not doing it for sort of trends or whatever, but I guess for you it's a creative process, isn't it? And you want to kind of keep trying new ideas, and it's a hobby as much as it's your job, really.
It's probably one of the most enjoyable elements. There's lots of strands to it, you know, so many elements, but that is one of the really enjoyable things. It's also really stressful as well, and it gets more stressful every year because you kind of put more pressure on yourself, and you know, 10 years in, you're like, God, some more.
Tell me about it. I mean, that is the same. Do you know, one of the good things to come from, so we're filming this at the minute during lockdown in the UK, even though we'll have this video uploaded for a long time afterwards, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we get out. But you know, one of the positives of this time has been a time to reflect and sort of take your foot off the what would you call it, off the treadmill for a minute, and sort of think, oh, actually, is this the way we want to do things? And we've changed quite a lot of things within our business, and I'm sure people will do going forwards. But it's a nice break, isn't it, to sort of give yourself a rest, definitely. So tell us about your new collection then, about your 2020 Moonlight Collection.
It's called Moonlight. My previous year's collection was called Stardust.
Beautiful.
And it kind of moves on from there. So Stardust just had little elements of kind of twinkly stars. I've not got a huge amount of stuff here because I am in lockdown. But
no, I was very keen on this.
So these little tiny star crystals, a Swarovski crystal, the hand set in gold or silver plated settings. This is just a really simple hairvine headband. So that was Stardust last year, that just had this and some hairpins using the same crystals, and I kind of wanted to move on with that, so we use more of those crystals.
Do you know, I still love those vines and pins.
I think they're still really relevant now, and people
agree
buying those now. And then I added these pearls into it as well. So there's kind of a mixture of I literally have none of them here to show you.
You can check out Debbie's latest collection on our Unveiled blog. It's all there, all the pictures.
So there's combs with kind of, they're basically moon and star inspired pieces, combs, hairpins, hair vines. And I've done a series of statement earrings as well, which I've not really done any new earrings for quite some time. I was actually at the point of discontinuing doing earrings, and
well, I'm glad I absolutely love those earrings. I'm glad you didn't. And do you know, the thing about your earrings is they're very re-wearable for a bride as well after her wedding day. I would buy them to wear now without, I'm not getting married anytime soon, but I'm already married. But you know, they're lovely as a piece for someone who wants to buy into the collection but isn't necessarily a bride. I'm going to actually put a link to our feature here in the interview, so that anyone who wants to check out Debbie's new collection can do so they know what we're talking about. So you also do bespoke accessories too, as well as your collections. So how does that process work?
So for me, there can be a bit of a misconception with bespoke. So I used to find it quite a lot, not so much now, but I used to find that people would come to you with a picture of someone else's design and make this. So it's not that. So basically what I tend to do is make sure I'm dealing with brides who love what I do but can't find the right piece, that it's not quite, there isn't anything in my collection that's quite right for them. So generally what we do, either in person or online, and it can be via a Zoom meeting, or it can be via email. I do a lot of email consultations and just get brides to show me the pieces that I've done that they like, and it doesn't have to be something that they think will work for them or their hairstyle. Just get a feel for what kind of things within the collection that they like, because there's quite a variety of pieces, and then we'll chat about what they're doing with their hair and decide whether something like a hair vine. So a hair vine, can show you a few bits. So something like this, or kind of pin. Very, look at that. Different positions.
You've got a good hair base to show off the pieces.
I've got really big roots at the minute, thanks to
well, yes, me too. I'm quite enjoying it. You know, new look for me. I tried to get a root stretch last year. I should have waited, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I spent all last year getting a root stretch, only to dye it back to blonde at Christmas, and then obviously here we are again, root stretching for the summer. But yeah, really good showpiece there. It's interesting though how, Debbie, when you did that, when you hold up the piece, you're like, wow, that's beautiful. But when you actually put it against the hair, it really comes alive and you see it properly. That's really interesting for me. I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, I find it really difficult seeing my pieces. I mean, in the studio, we've got a lot of display cabinets, and they're all the samples are displayed, and obviously they're twinkly and pretty, but to me, not on the head. They're not alive until they're on someone's head, and that's when they really.
Just demonstrate for us again there. Just show us again. So when you held it up, I mean, it looks gorgeous. But I'm used to seeing these pieces, but you see when you get the sense of it against the hair, it's just beautiful. Beautiful. Do it again one more time, just because I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it was looking at me or at you, Sasha. Look at that.
I can't see what's going on, so
yeah. Well, hopefully we've got it. It's not just me going, wow.
Yeah.
So talking about hair then, because again, I'd overlooked the importance. I was just thinking purely in terms of accessories. So I'd overlooked the importance of actually choosing an accessory to go with your hairstyle, and also kind of like your overall wedding style, I guess.
Yeah.
So should we do a bit of a game? If I give you some styles and things, if you want to give us some styling suggestions with the sort of hair pieces that would work.
Sure.
Okay, so what about if a bride is going for something like what I've got, like a high bun?
Yeah. Okay. I've got a few pieces in front of me, so I really like the idea of something like this sat in the side of it. Again, I'll try and show you so it kind of sit. Let me know if you can't see it.
Perfect.
Around a bun or to the side of a bun. So that's a really good, and it's a really versatile piece. So I think versatility is key generally, because when you take it to your hairstylist and they've got a lot of choice about what they can do, it can sit at the front right onto your forehead. So there's a lot of things, and this just pins in to position. There's tiny loops at each end, and you get a few bobby kit pins, curvy grips, and they just pin into position. Or hairpins are fantastic as a versatile piece, and again nestling in against the
they're beautiful.
bun. So yeah, these are just two different ones. I do a lot of these style ones in sets of 3, so you can kind of move them about and work them together. So these are two different ones. So you've got the mother of pearl, and these are little check crystals in rose gold. And I use a kind of variety. We use Swarovski gold crystals, and I kind of pick the materials based on the luster and the colour and getting the right colour. And then that's quite a good example of the freshwater pearls that have that it's less unified. It's a more natural kind of feel. And again, these
they're beautiful.
Can be moved. So yeah, I love both of those really for a bun, because there's so much that you can do with any kind of updo. So yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And also I suppose you need to think about where your veil's going as well.
Yeah.
This is the importance really of using like a proper bridal hairstylist, isn't it? Who's used to working with pieces like this and veils and placement.
Yeah. And that's it. And there's kind of they can really advise you really well. If you're chatting to a bridal hair accessory designer, they should have experience of that as well. So that would be something when we're talking about, particularly with bespoke. But again, if someone just wants advice on what headpiece to go to, then things like if you're having a veil, you know, has a bearing. We do. I love putting pieces in the back. If you're wearing a veil, and the veil kind of comes on a comb and sort of sits into that position, and kind of trails down the back. And I like the idea of putting a hair vine in the back, and it kind of peeps around the sides, comes out of the veil, so you've got a little bit of twinkle on either side. And then later on in the day, when you take the veil off, it kind of reveals the headpiece in all its glory. So this piece here is a good example that we do with this a lot. So this sits in the back, and then I don't know if I'll be able to show you, but I'll try. And then just imagine it.
Oh, it's dreamy.
And there's quite a nice kind of sort of delicate shimmer through the veil. You can kind of see it sparkling underneath. So yeah, whether you're wearing,
it's very ethereal. You're right. It's almost like it brings like sort of Midsummer Dream vibes.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. You can imagine like a beautiful boho summer night wedding, or even a winter wedding actually.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, sparkle.
Okay, so what if someone was going for? So I guess that would be someone if they were wearing their hair down.
Well, I would say for something like that, that works really well with a half up, half down style. Just a little bit pulled back, and it sort of sits into this like a kind of area created there, and it sit into that and trail down. Hair down is probably one of the least easy ones to accessorize, and just because it, like, my hair's very well, it's quite thick, so
gorgeous. Your hair's very gorgeous.
But it would still be tough to hold something in like that, where you have to pin it in, and if it's quite heavy, and so it depends on your hair type and on your hairstylist, and that there are loads and loads of tricks to make any headpiece work. But in terms of hair down, I think that something like a ribbon tie headband that I do. So this is quite a strong piece, but it comes with ribbon ties at each end, and you can kind of
lovely
it there.
Look at that.
You sit it up as a crown, and because it's on a ribbon, it just ties into position, so it doesn't matter what you're doing with your hair. You can have kind of boho waves and again pop it into the back, so that gives you loads and loads of things to do without having to worry about how you're going to pin it in place. So if you've got an updo or a half updo, then combs and hairpins and hair vines will pin in really easily, because it's kind of creating like somewhere for it to sit.
Nice.
So loose hair is a little bit more difficult, but there are little tricks. So things like to hold pins in place, you can get those very tiny braiding elastics, like really
like a loom band. Yeah,
and you literally wrap it around your hair, and then you can pin your Kirby grip through it, and yeah, it won't move. So there are loads of tricks. So if you know you want a specific headpiece, there are always ways to wear it, no matter what hair you've got.
Wow. And I think sometimes as well with someone who, depends what style they're going for, but you know, if they're going to wear their hair down, then that kind of leaves room for because you wouldn't go for like the full on, well, I wouldn't go for the full like, hair vine plus earrings plus everything else.
Yeah.
You know, Coco Chanel's advice, all that sort of thing. Take it to heart. But it leaves room if you're having your hair plain with the veil, or just plain, to you know, put some earrings on it, or
I'm all about the statement earrings, whether it's in the day or adding it in the evening, just to change up your look. So yeah, hair, a ponytail, really sleek. If you're wearing something really a sleek outfit, I'm thinking like a sort of, you know, like a beautiful jumpsuit with really clean lines and a high sort of fashion forward ponytail, some big statement earrings. That's probably all you need. You know?
What a look that is! That is an absolutely kick-ass look for a modern bride. I love that. You know, we see that a lot in editorial, but not so much on a bride. And I'd love to see a bride, like, you can just imagine it, can't you? The sort of girl who would wear that look. And I
kind of wonder if we're going to see that more as lockdown restrictions are eased and people perhaps are going to be having smaller weddings, we might find that looks become a bit more like that, you know. A bit more
maybe people are just sort of through. I don't know if we're all a bit brave new worldy about this, and it's all just going to be back to normal straight away. But I'd like to think that people will be kind of ready to sort of show their own style a bit more, like not follow the crowd as much, because they've had a bit of time to themselves to really kind of get to know themselves a bit better. I don't know. I'm not sure. I personally have my house is all grey because I've always thought I like that. But I just have a real urge to like paint my house all different colours. I don't know, like I don't know what's coming out. Maybe it's my creativity that I'm not being able to use and other things coming out, but I'm like, oh, this is weird. But maybe people can just be a bit more themselves. Yeah. Rather than fitting into molds they thought they belonged in. I don't know. So how about a bride? So 2 different looks then. So we talked about a bride there that wanted a bit more of a trend focused look. How about a bride that wants a more classic look? What's your sort of top tip in whatever hairstyle they're choosing? What sort of materials and things like that would you suggest?
So I think your classic bride would probably be looking at crystals and pearls, really. They're kind of like your really classic bridal materials. Something like a comb or a clip, just very simple, quite jeweled but not a large piece, is a really classic look, and it kind of stands the test of time, I think, as well. And then there's different ways of doing it. I've not really got any combs here to sort of show you guys, but there's quite a few examples on my website. So some that have sort of used pieces that are quite floral, some that are a bit more kind of vintage style, have slightly more geometry to them, and then even we've done the stars and the moons kind of, so you can kind of be classic and have that classic vibe but still have that sort of fashiony sort of elements as well. So
I love that the mix of the two. I know what you mean exactly by that, like a sort of classic look but with a modern twist. Really
so that I would say probably is you do a very classic feel. But I use a lot of mother of pearl flowers in my designs as well, and you can kind of get that same feel with that, and it's a much more softer, more romantic feel. Again, this is a big piece, but you can kind of get an idea of the materials, so it's a much more subtle kind of shimmer. Kind of both pieces work really. So it's whether you want a little bit of bling, or whether you want something a little bit more pared back.
I'm excited too. I wish I had a party to go to with some accessories to wear. You start thinking, oh yeah, what would I choose? How about on the flip side of that, a bride who wants to go like super relaxed, like a bit more of a boho vibe, a bit more chilled? What would you suggest for them?
I think so much you can do with boho. I quite like still the kind of either the loose waves or something almost like a gathered plait, but really big, kind of really big loose waves, and kind of dot through it.
Like so pulled out.
So you can either kind of drop hairpins through it so it looks like it's woven through, or work a hair vine through it or on top of it. And you can't really beat, for a boho kind of natural look, your forehead band or something just sitting on or above the hairline, and just have those loose waves kind of going. And
or like just dot your little stars through as well. That's a lovely look too, isn't it?
That works really well with the boho look as well. Lovely.
Beautiful. So then what about brides who are in lockdown at the moment? If they're thinking, well, this is all very well and good, but I mean, I don't have time for a hair trial. What can they be kind of doing to plan and choose their accessories? And what about that hair trial issue?
Pinterest is your friend. Instagram as well. Pinterest has loads and loads of hair tutorials. Some of them are really, really simple. You can kind of just, I would say, have a little play. If you're one of those people who has got time during lockdown, you're not kind of dragged here, there and everywhere, but if you've got a bit of time, have a sit and have a play with hair tutorials and get a feel for what suits your face, because that's a big part of it. Have a think about what kind of hairstyles you'd feel comfortable with, whether you don't want to show your ears, then you probably don't want an updo. Or if you've got some detail on dress that you want to show, then that might mean you don't want your hair down. So you can start eliminating hairstyles, which the hairstyle will then kind of help you decide on a hair accessory. So yeah, have a play, and then look at what pieces you could wear that would be versatile. So I was mentioning before things like a ribbon tie hairband. So my ones come with ribbons, but they're detachable. So you literally just pull the ribbon out of these little loops. So you can wear them across the forehead and top of the head, take out the ribbons, pin them into the back, trail them down a plait. There's so much you can do. So if you think you're not going to have time to have that hair trail with your hairdresser, then that's a really good option. Hairpins as well, really versatile. You can do a lot. So if you see something and you fall in love with it, your hairstylist is going to find something that they can do to work with whatever hairstyle you go to. And talk to your hairstylist. I'm sure you can still have online chats or even Zoom chats, and they can advise you on what will work with your hair type, your face, how it looks, because I think your face shape has a big part to do with it, and they'll know really well what's going to work with you and with your theme. So just use the people out there, the experts that kind of know what they're doing. So talk to your hairstylist. If you find a hair designer that you like, get in touch with them and say, look, I need some advice. And yeah, I'm always happy to offer advice, and yeah, it's all part of the process and really good fun. So
no, that's really helpful. Do you want to know a secret? So I just remembered this. So the way I found wedding blogs and then became a wedding blogger was because I was a bride to be and I was Googling for a certain type of hairstyle.
Oh, right.
And you just and I found a blog called, a very famous American blog called Style Me Pretty. And thought, what is this? And was sort of blown away. That's months and months before actually the idea to actually launch our own site started. But it's just, you've just reminded me of that. And I was looking for sort of like a half ponytail, but with a loose bit at the back. Yeah. To then sort of put your veil in, but then have a bit of length. Yeah. And yeah, so you can totally, from Pinterest, get some great ideas. Because I think I actually ended up just taking that. The wedding industry isn't what it wasn't what it is now. So I literally just took I didn't have a proper bridal stylist, so I just took my picture that I found from Style Me Pretty and printed off the work computer.
Scrapbooks.
Ran to the work computer to grab it off before anyone saw it. I had a scrapbook. I think that's like my first blog. I was so proud of that scrapbook. I think everyone thought I was literally crazy. But you could. And I just took that picture to my stylist, who did a great job actually. But so it's
so different now that it can. There's probably too much information out there, and that's probably part of it. Is, I would say, look at what pin away, just keep pinning, but then go back and look at what you've pinned, and you'll find, because I do it, I'm pinning hairstyles all the time, and you can look at my Pinterest board for inspiration, but I'll then go back through and think, gosh, I've pinned that hairstyle 72 times. You get a really good feel for what you love and what you're drawn to, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, that is quite useful, and you can kind of narrow it down.
Yeah, mine is mainly blonde bob. So every year I grow my hair, and then around about November I'm like, oh yeah, blonde bob. I'll never grow it again. Oh yeah, again, and repeat. So funny. So what then? Okay, this is going to be a hard question for you. What is your favourite piece in your new collection, and why? And obviously every bride's different, and every hair's different, and every look's different. But what's your favourite piece?
Oh, it's probably my crown.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I know the one. Features in the latest issue of Unveiled, right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's really delicate. It's not like a crazy massive crown. And it's got little stars in, but they're not super obvious. And it just kind of, I don't know, there's a weird kind of vintage style to it, but it's quite kind of on trend as well. And
it's kind of like regal in a magical way, is what I'd say about that crown. Do you know, it's so interesting because obviously I work with a lot of different suppliers and things, but I know exactly which piece you mean. And in our magazine, it's probably around about page 13, I would say. Our model Lisa, she's wearing it with kind of like a short Jenny Packham dress with a feathery hemline, and it's beautiful. It looks really kind of like an ingenue type, just like a little Bambi. It's beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so harder question.
Oh gosh.
It might be the same answer, but I'm not sure. Favorite design of all time, of everything you've ever done?
I have a piece called Katya, which is kind of like this, but it's bigger. It's about that wide. It's a really strong piece, and I made it 2-3 years ago, I think. And it was inspired by macrame. I did a macrame little workshop and loved it. But also really injured my rotator cuff doing it. But I kind of took what I learned back to the studio and used it in this. So I used, like, it's about 12 meters of wire.
Wow.
In like 12 different strands, and it's almost like plaiting, kind of. It's just like macrame basically, and it's crazy intricate and really beautiful, and it's a really strong thing. You can see the size of that, so you imagine this double.
Wow. Yeah, I think I know the piece you mean.
Yeah, it's really striking. On when we photographed it, there's one image of it, my main image of that, and it's so striking, and I just love it. And I think that's quite a good example of my pieces being kind of, even when they're a strong piece, they're still quite delicate and ethereal. So,
and definitely, and enduring as well. The pieces definitely endure. Like, you could pick from any of your previous collections and it'd still look amazing today. That's the interesting. That's what I meant about, like, you don't need a new collection every year, but you're doing them anyway, and it's a really kind of commendable, that, I think. And obviously,
kind of probably doing things right if people are still ordering, from much earlier collections.
Yeah, get the whole Debbie Carlisle back catalogue throughout the whole day. You said before, which I think is a really interesting tip, and you actually gave this tip to our readers in our magazine as well, that it's cool to switch things up.
Yeah,
that was absolutely something I would not have thought of doing, which is stupid given my job. So what sort of stages of the day could they use different bits for, and how could they do that?
Well, I mean, I think there's a natural point at which things change. Not for every bride, but if you're wearing a veil, at some point you're going to take it off, and generally it's before you eat, because they kind of get a bit in the way a little bit. And some brides absolutely adore their veil, and it never
it's a sad moment. It was a sad moment for me on my wedding day.
Yeah,
but I did still take it off.
Yeah, so at that point, that's the time. So that's the time where you could switch things around in terms of your hair accessory. So change a hair accessory or move the position of your hair accessory. So again, a lot of mine that you can wear in the back and the front, and this works really well if you're not wearing a veil. So maybe during the day wear a piece in the back, and then swap it up from like your evening reception onwards, or dinner, meal, whatever onwards, move it to the front. So because people look at your back a lot during the ceremony, and at the front of you more when you're having speeches and so on. And with the veil, you can remove that, so that kind of changes your look already. And if you've done something like pop a headpiece underneath it, then you're switching up your look without having to actually do anything. You have to take time.
I like that idea, because then you're not kind of struggling with your bridesmaids in the loos.
Yeah,
drunkenly.
Everyone's had a drink, and
what were you doing?
World, yeah. Yeah. So we have brides who will change into a different hair accessory for the evening, but we quite often go for something like a headband that just sits on really simply. So nothing too drastic, unless your hairdresser is a really good friend and they're going to be there all day. You can make use of them. So again, I think statement earrings for the evening. So after your meal, before you go and hit the dance floor, maybe when you walk in to do your first dance, rocking a pair of statement earrings or a beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. What is that crown called?
The crown's called Orion.
Oh, lovely. I love names of things. So when I had my little girls, I found it really useful looking at like bridal accessory names, wedding dress names, to get their names. If anyone who is pregnant and they know they're having a girl or they don't know what they're having, bridal dress names, accessory names, great sort of inspo.
Yeah.
And actually, Ryan,
10 years with them. when we were expecting, we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. Had hundreds of girl names.
No, it's weird. It's funny, isn't it? And absolutely zero boy names in what we do. But Ryan, there you go. Ryan, that's a cool name.
That would work. Yeah,
it would. Okay, top tip for a bride then. Your top tip for a bride when it comes to accessorizing.
This is like my throw out the rule book tip. Go with what you love. If you really, really love something's just leapt out and you just adore it, go for it. Absolutely. Yeah. You can spend so long worrying about, is this right? Will it work with my dress? Will it work with my hairstyle? Will it work with my makeup? Will it work with my head shape? Will it work with my eye cut? That you can keep going and keep going and keep going. The real key is, do you love it? And are you really madly looking forward to wearing it on the day? And that's probably the main thing. And if you really
because
go for
as with most things, like what we were talking about before with confidence, and that's the thing. As with most things, if you are rocking it, it's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, I've done, there's pieces on my website that sort of talk about what to wear with different style dresses, and sort of generally speaking, you perhaps say, don't wear, you've got a heavily embellished dress, don't go too big and too strong with your headpiece. But if that's your character and that's your style and that's how you would dress normally, absolutely do it. If you're going for something quite kind of deco-y, Hollywood, 1920s,
I love that look. I love so many different looks. This is the problem. I love so many different looks. So
if you love it and you're confident, go for it.
Do you know what is interesting? As someone who styles editorial shoots often, this is very apparent to me when I do this, because quite often we will put something that should be too much on a real bride, on a model for a shoot, because obviously you need to up the ante a little bit. And we have done that with your pieces, actually, haven't we? We've put like heavily embellished dresses against, say, the crown we were talking about before, and they just look bang on because, your model comes out strutting. And if you're a bride who's going to do that, which you will on your wedding day, you absolutely will. Even if you're the shyest person ever, you will come out and feel like an absolute queen. That is, it will work. And likewise, I've done shoots with girls. We did a cover shoot for issue 11. It was the influence edit when we were down the Elan Cafe in Mayfair. So loads of pink, all the sort of love hearts everywhere. We had these amazing gowns from Haley at Harrogate. I think it was an Enzoni gown we had on, really big kind of skirt. We just lobbed a turban, like a glittery turban, on the bride, and it absolutely should not have worked. Just because of the setting, and because it was also, like absolutely, she absolutely rocked it. So I think you're right. I think go for what you love, and you get excited, and it's an exciting time, so you should enjoy it, indulge it.
And how often do you get to wear crazy sparkly hair accessories?
But you know what, if you want to wear them every day, you wear them every day.
Especially in lockdown.
Lockdown's a good time to try this out. Debbie's website is open and they are dispatching. So Debbie, if people want to talk to you more, or want to purchase some of your accessories, or just like find out about coming in for consultation with you, how can they get in touch with you? Details here.
I guess you're going to put the details of the website on, so go and have a look at the website. My email's on there. It's hello@debbiecarlisle.com. Get in touch we've got a contact form, or obviously social media as well. So there's Instagram as well if you want to get in touch.
What's your Insta handle, just in case anyone's listening is audio?
It's at Debbie Carlisle, and then there's an underscore at the end because there was another Debbie Carlisle before.
Ooh.
So at Debbie Carlisle underscore.
And say the web address as well, just in case.
And the web address is debbiecarlisle.com.
Perfect. Right, well, I think I could talk accessories all day with you, but we better wrap that up. but and your brides can come and have the chat with you in person.
Excellent.
So thanks so much, Debbie. You've been absolutely brilliant. Lots of ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.